Hi, I'm Doug Boles, president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thank you for listening to Behind the Bricks. We're excited to bring you this exclusive and entertaining content about the world's greatest racetrack. Keep listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
Your day moves fast. Your news should too. That's why there's a new and improved Wish TV app bringing you more local news, breaking alerts, live streaming, weather forecast, radar, and Indiana sports all in one place. Customize your news feed to see the stories that matter most to you and get the information you need when you need it. Download the new and improved Wish TV app today on iOS or Android and take News 8 with you everywhere.
Hey, Indianapolis Motor Speedway fans, Doug Boles here with you, coming from the front stretch of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the place we all love so much as we get ready for the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge. You can hear the noise above us. We can't stop working even though we're filming because we wanted to be ready for you guys. Today's special treat on Behind the Bricks, we have three-time Indianapolis 500 winner, four-time NTT IndyCar Series champion Dario Franchitti here with us. To be honest, we're a couple days ahead of the oval test is coming up. It's a little cold, so that's why he's in a jacket. I once again forgot mine, so we may have to take a break inside here in a little bit. But Dario, thank you for joining us. This is great to have you here.
Pleasure.
Standing out here by yourself, first emotions when you get to come to the Speedway?
Yeah, the heart flutters a little bit. I look up at the pagoda, I look at the windsock, force of habit. One of the coolest memories I have is being here one night. We'd been doing an event in the pagoda and it had been snowing. And it was, nobody had stepped in any of the snow, and I stood out here on my own and just took in the atmosphere of the place. And it's quite haunting when it's empty.
It is.
It's pretty cool when it's absolutely full on race day.
That's the neat thing about this place. In this state with nobody here, it's got its own personality, and then when it's full, it does too. It's sort of definitely a living thing. So we're standing here about where you would have been in 2002 when you started in 28th. You end up finishing 19th. At that point in time, 2002, did you have any idea that you'd win the Indy 500 or that you'd become a multiple winner of the Indy 500?
Absolutely not, Doug. You know, at that point, we had come in as a kart team, and there was all these politics in this split, and it was really a poisonous time in the sport. And I'd come here, and I really didn't understand the race, which for me, as you know, I love the history of our sport, but I didn't get it. And by the time the race was over, yeah, I got it. Trust me, I really got it, and I wanted more. But up until that point, I didn't understand it. I found this circuit unbelievably challenging, and it sort of clicked. Oh yeah, this is what they talk about with Indianapolis. But I had no idea. I had no idea that it would become such a big part of my life, and that I would want to win it so much. Only thing in my life I've done, the more I've done it, the more I wanted to do it, the more success I wanted. You know, sometimes whatever you do in life, whether it's jumping out of airplanes, riding motorbikes, whatever, when you do it, you kind of get used to it a little bit. This just got more and more under my skin, this race, this event.
That's good. Well, speaking of riding motorbikes, 2003, you don't get to run here.
No, good point, yeah. So 2003, I was all ready to go, and I was in Scotland, and I was riding my motorbike, and it invited me to leave. I had an engine failure, and I went over the handlebars and broke my back, and so I had to call Michael Andretti from a field in Scotland, literally lying on my back in a field in Scotland, to tell him that I might not be racing in Motegi, but I would be okay for the 500. And then Dr. Trammell gave me the good news that I wouldn't be doing anything for the rest of that season. And that, I think, to sit over there and watch somebody else, it was Robbie Gordon, driving my car, that just, I think, instilled that I wanted to do the 500 even more, and I wanted to be successful at it.
Well, you obviously, you run 10 Indy 500s, you win 3 of them. The third, you never qualified in the pole, but the front row is a place you like, the outside of the front row. Any advantage, you think, to starting on the outside of the front row versus the inside?
Well, not financially.
That's true.
Right. So, you know, the one year I felt I had a shot was 07, and I'd done the quickest time early in the day, and I sat there and I sat against the wall for most of the day and just watched people take shots at me. And I remember Sam Horner's going down the back straight having an advantage, and a headwind would blow in, and he didn't quite get it. And then right at the end, Elio went out and beat me. Michael Andretti would not let me go out and do another qualifying attempt, and I told him we can trim the car out, we can go a lot faster. He said, absolutely not. And that was my first win. But I think the qualifying is such a different skill set to the race, and I just never quite got it mastered, I would say, and full marks to those people that do.
Yeah, I would argue you did. Qualifying on the front row, I think 3 or 4 times is a pretty good record here at the Speedway.
You know, I like that sort of high wide line on lap 1, and I led a couple of times from the outside of the front row going down the back straight, and so yeah, it was. I mean, the race was obviously always more important, but qualifying is definitely they say it's the 4 most difficult laps, and they're not lying.
So history and tradition is really important to this place. Obviously, you're a student of the history, and Jimmy Clark has a special meaning for you, but were you a student of the history before you started running here, or is that something that developed as you got here as well?
Well, it certainly developed as I got here, but that's the odd thing for me, because I loved the history of this race before I even showed up, but it just didn't click that first year, 2002, and then it became an obsession. I mean, I have a Jim Clark room at home in my it's known as the I Love Me building. It's full of memorabilia and stuff. But yeah, the traditions, the history of this race, the people who went before, the drivers and mechanics, the engineers. It's just such a special place.
Well, that's one of the things I really have appreciated about you is you get the whole thing. So we wanted to start this here because this is kind of where it begins, but up a couple hundred yards in front of us is that yard of bricks that becomes so important for you as it relates to the Indianapolis 500. We've had a handful of 4-time winners now. We got 4 of them, but there's 6 3-time winners. Pretty cool that you ultimately end up getting to be part of that. But all 3 of your wins are a little bit unique, a little bit different. So I definitely want to talk about those. But first, I think we got to go in and get warm and go see where you celebrated your 2007 victory.
Let's do it.
Let's go on in. And this room right now doesn't look like a whole lot. Usually on race day, it's where the drivers gather before they get introduced to see all of you. But this has a special meaning for you because in 2007, rain-shortened race, your first win.
The only Scotsman to win Indy was Jimmy Clark in 1965. That is until today. Tune up the bagpipes. Dario Franchitti will win at Indianapolis.
You can't celebrate in the water. You celebrate here. It's interesting talking about this as we're coming in here. You were talking about one of the first faces you saw was your dad as you pulled the car around the corner?
Yeah, as we come down pit lane, I mean, it's really wet. And the biggest thing was actually keeping the car in the circuit those last 2 laps under the pace car. I thought, I can't crash on the yellow leading the 500. That would have been really bad. And as I turned in from pit lane over the yard of bricks, the first face I see is my dad, and he's cheering, and then I see my guys and my family and my friends from Scotland are invading. It was like a full-on invasion, and to see those faces of those, especially my dad who'd been there since, he's the reason I was driving a racing car. To see that was so cool, and then see the mechanics and the engineers and everybody who worked so hard. And then I pulled in here, and all hell broke loose.
Ladies and gentlemen, you now have a new Indianapolis 500 champion, Dario Franchitti.
So that's the cool thing I think still about winning the Indianapolis 500. So many of our races anymore they're orchestrated. Who can get out of the car, when you can get out of the car. The Indy 500, there's no orchestration. It's pure chaos. And when you're doing it outside, it's one thing, but to have pure chaos in this small space had to be really memorable.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was just going off, and there was no rhyme or reason to it. There was no orchestration. I even kissed Michael Andretti, I believe. There's a picture of it somewhere. Sorry, Mike. All my teammates came in, and yeah, it all just it kicked off. And that was the start of this mad week that involved one of the worst hangovers of my life. Involved, the usual stuff, going to Letterman and everything, but it started right here in that feeling of getting out of the car and realising that I'd finally won the Indianapolis 500.
But I can't believe it. It was Indy 500.
Probably the biggest race you'd ever won in your career at that point. You go on and win the championship that year. You talk about celebrating. I don't think people understand what work really goes into winning. If you're up almost all night doing interviews, then you got to go catch up to the team. And we don't leave you alone. We want you back out here when the sun's coming up to do a photo shoot. So did you sleep?
I had 15 minutes sleep, 20 minutes sleep. Truth be told, I may have still been slightly drunk when I was out there on on the yard of bricks doing the photographs, and that's what happens when a lightweight racing driver tries to keep up with his friends from Scotland and all his mechanics, and but that was that feeling of being out there the next morning again and seeing the Borg Warner Trophy and just been a bit quieter because it's utter chaos in here, whether it's here or whether it's outside. It's madness, and it's very difficult to take in the achievement. But out there, I was able to do that, and it was a feeling of accomplishment. I think from me, that was it. I felt right. I've done it. Wasn't quite sure I'd ever get to do it. So with it happening, I was quite satisfied, quite relaxed, and it really, I think, took a bit of pressure off anything that I did from then on.
So something I think also that really happens during that time frame, maybe a little before 07, but it certainly carries on through your last race in 2013. There becomes this amazing bond, but also this amazing level of competition between you, Dan Weldon, Scott Dixon, and Tony Kanaan. You four, at that period of time, are the Foyts, the Unsers, and the Andrettis of our era. Those become really good friendships at that point in time as well. Did you realize at that point in time, I know your relationship with Dan gets really special, but how special were those relationships even in those early years?
Particularly Tony, because we were teammates early, it was very close from the start to the finish of my IndyCar career. Scott, we became much closer later on, and Dan I'd known forever, but Dan and I, we actually had a period where we didn't get on quite so well. And I was glad that, in the sort of the 2009-10s, we were able to make peace and become, strong friends again. But we fought week in, week out. The battles that happen, and willpower is involved in that whole thing as well. And Will and I, we almost came to blows on a couple of occasions. But it was a privilege to race with all those guys. And occasionally it was difficult because, go back to 2012 for instance, I remember being just out there and I just won the 500 for the third time and feeling just elated, and Scott comes up to give me a hug and tell me well done. I could see the pain in his face, and on one hand as a competitor, as a driver, I'm just feeling on top of the world, but I also I felt really bad for my friend, so that was an odd feeling, but we were able to be friends off the track, but we battled really hard on the track.
And as a fan and involved in the sport at that time, that was what was so cool about that group of people. You guys, you were always battling. You were at the top of your game. You could have been the best in the world at that point in time. So we're going to go out now. Let's go talk about that second win a little bit, and maybe talk a little bit more about some of those relationships and where we are. But we got to go get cold again. Thank you, fans, for listening to this episode of Behind the Bricks. We look forward to bringing you more exciting content about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway soon.